Hello and welcome to Seagulls Social. This is the Crystal Palace at home match reaction in a game where we lost 1-0 and things got very toxic to say the least, Jack. There was boos ringing around the Amex. There was, calls for Hurzeler's head. There was a lot going on and a lot of fans, I suppose rightly so, very annoyed, very angry towards the team. I suppose towards the board at the moment. There's a bit of grumblings towards the board as well with news coming out about Lewis Dunk's potential transfer to Forest. A lot to digest, Jack. A lot to go through. Terrible afternoon. A big loss to one of our rivals. It was just a really bad day at the office and a lot to discuss. So let's get into it without further ado, Jack. Let's just start with your initial thoughts, Jack. I always like to try and get your general mood. How are you feeling, mate? How are you today?
Shit. It's a frustrating one for many, many reasons. I think this was a real sort of movement towards, as I'm sure many people have been trying to work out what my actual feeling on Fabian Hurzeler is, as I seem to flip-flop a bit, but I think this was just a point of no return for him. I think it was a really, really poor performance against our biggest rival. I think at the end of the day, you want your players to show a bit of passion, a bit of fight, and there was just nothing in it, really. The pretty gutless, toothless performance all round. It seemed to be that we were tactically devoid of anything, devoid of ideas. I'm sure, but I thought Crystal Palace would they're on probably one of the worst runs of form in their history. It's a perfect opportunity to maybe take advantage of a team that is running out of confidence, and they just completely outplayed us in every way possible. They won all the 50-50, they just won everything. And, it kind of showed that, you can have, because at the end of the day, you don't sort of play every team twice in a season, do you? Because you play teams when they've got injuries or different form or something like that. And we played what was currently the worst team in the league and in terms of form, and we were just pathetic. Like, we were completely pathetic. Like, there was no positive to come from that, was there?
No. Jack, you've pretty much taken everything. I was genuinely going to describe it as a
Pop
very
done.
toothless.
Let's go.
Yeah. No, genuinely, exactly what you said. Toothless, gutless. There was no signs for me that thought, we've really put up a fight there. At least if you go away from that game going, do you know what? We had, 20 shots on target and, we absolutely battered them. And it was just one of those games where we couldn't, get our chances away and we couldn't score. Yeah, okay, you could give him a bit of grace. You could give the team a bit of grace. But yeah, genuinely, watching that game was just so frustrating because it just seems like we offered nothing. And I think that's a few factors. That's down to the manager. I think he's very a big part to blame.
Oh, yeah.
But also things off the pitch as well. It seems like things aren't going... it seems very odd at the moment, even at the board level. You seem to see stuff that, obviously we've heard some stuff that might not be true, might be true, but it does seem like there are some weird ongoings at the moment off the pitch as well, which aren't helping on the pitch at all. And it's all feels very strange at the moment. And even from the starting lineup, I found it a little bit strange that Harry Howell, as much as I love him and I think he's great.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate.
Yeah, big fan of him, but in that game of that kind of magnitude, bearing in mind he's not started all season, and you then chuck him in against Crystal Palace, it was just a very strange decision for me. And even Kostoulas, as much as I love him, was that the right choice? Even though he did play really well, don't get me wrong. Or one of the better players anyway.
Yeah. I wouldn't say really well.
That was an overstatement, yeah. But one of the better players. But still, starting him and Howell was a bit suspect for me. What do you think of the starting lineup in general, Jack?
Well, I just don't get it. I don't get, we've had Harry Howell in this squad he's been around the squad since, he was playing in the League Cup games at the beginning of the season. He wasn't getting a sniff then. Now we've had players that the manager have been hanging around with for about 6 months and he's going, all right, they're not good enough now, or they're leaving. Gruder could have started in this position. Tommy Watson could have started in this position, both with more experience. For whatever reason, they're gone. And then you think, right, okay, we've got a pretty solid starting 11. not interested. How comes in then? It doesn't make sense to me. Now, there's been no substitute appearances. I believe that was his first Premier League appearance of the season.
Yeah, it was.
What is the idea that he's just going to come in now and make an impact? And that does work sometimes. Like De Zerbi did it with Ferguson, but Ferguson was getting cameos here and there. And I remember when Ferguson first came into the team, he played against Charlton in the Cup, and then he came on against Arsenal where he's thrown on and he scored a goal, and then he started against Everton, and that's sort of a gradual progression, just chucking him in straight away with such little sort of build up to it, and where he's just been totally ignored. He's not even been in the matchday squad at times. So what has Hurzeler seen in the last week that's made him think like, right, yeah, we need to get rid of these guys and bring this in? I don't know. It was a really baffling one for me. And that's not to talk down Harry Howe, because I'm a huge advocate of Harry Howe. I think he is good enough. I think it's a wrong game to put him in. And I think he worked really hard. I think he looked like one of the better players on the pitch, but his role was almost sort of like a right central midfielder. It was really weird. It was another odd tactical move from Hurzeler of playing this front three of, it almost seemed like we're playing front three of Matoma, Jorginho and Costulas, but none of it worked. None of it worked at all. And we just persisted with it. This thing that Matoma's been doing. You're going to set me off now. We could be here for 20 minutes.
I didn't do anything.
Matoma with this cutting inside bollocks doesn't work. Stop doing it. A bit frustrated with that.
Tell the man who's got a degree in it to stop.
And also, at the end of the day, Costulas is not a number 9, and whether that was the role he was being asked to play or Jorginho was being asked to play, he's not a number 9. He shouldn't be our starting number 9 in the Premier League. If, and I hate to say it, Fabian Hurzeler made a bit of a tit of himself in the week in his press conference when he goes, "We don't need big money players. We have togetherness." And then Strand Larsen plays really well for them. He leads the line well. If we'd gone out, actually maybe fuck togetherness. Let's go out and buy some players who are actually decent at doing what they could have done.
But just quickly on that, Jack, talk about transfers just quickly. I do feel it's a slightly bit harsh towards Hurzeler because it's very well documented.
I agree.
Because the board do make the transfer decisions, don't they? And again, this is rumours. I don't know how true this is, but there are rumours that Hurzeler actually, there's been some transfers or some, rumours of players leaving that were actually against his wishes. So, can we fully blame Hurzeler in that respect? Or has he been given a bit of a bad hand in that respect?
No, and I think he'd be massively given a bad hand, but he doesn't help himself with what he's
coming
doing.
out in the press,
he's either not in the press, this togetherness thing, that's just backfired on them. The amount of Crystal Palace, they're going, they're taking
I think even the admin, the Palace admin.
They're mocking it because it was a stupid thing to say. It's just, I don't know what's got into him. And it's not very good, is it? It's a real frustrating thing because it seems like it was something I said on Twitter, but it feels like we've just, Jorginho, he's a shell of himself. He's not the player that he should have been. He is consistently seen by Fabian Hurzeler for some bizarre unknown reason as a number 9. We spent the whole of pre-season having him at number 9. He seems to have bulked up to play the role, and now when he needs to play number 10, he's not anywhere near moulded for that because he's stuck in between. I feel like we've just cocked up in pre-season and we're just playing catch-up the whole season.
Well, I was just about to say, Jack, I feel like genuinely, and especially the younger players, I feel like we've regressed massively this season. I think the development is not there. And again, I think that's down to management. That's down to the coaching. It feels like we've taken many steps backwards and not actually progressed the players. Look at Carlos Baleba, again, a shell of himself. Look at Rutter, a shell of himself. What other players? Obviously, Tommy Watson's gone out on loan. Gruder gone out on loan. These young players that we were brought in to nurture and progress, it feels like we've really taken them backwards in their careers and not actually put them forward. Whereas you look at the players in the past, the managers in the past that have done it, they've really developed those young players and nurtured them and actually got them to play well. And, you look at the likes of Caicedo when we had him. You look at McAllister, obviously, I know he went out on loan, but he came back a much better player. It just feels like the players that we had, the young players that went out and came back were just so much better for it. And, the managers developed them. But it just feels like Hurzeler's not doing that. It feels like we're going backwards. But what do you think?
And I just don't know. We just seem to be starting in tactics and doing like tactical tweaks, which don't really make any sense. I think the only thing that was positive that he was changing, I do think Decoy had a really good game. And he brought him back into the side, and with Ferdy and him on both wings, it was that was about the only positive thing we seemed to do all game. And yeah, it's just
interesting. Interesting you mentioned him.
Van Hex, disappeared, so that probably doesn't help him because we've loaned out the player who plays a similar style as centre half because we've loaned him out. Why have we loaned him out? To give him more game time. He was sat on the bench for Paris FC again. So why have we sent out a player to get more game time who is playing who's just sitting on the bench for
another
Paris
young
FC?
Player as well? Promising player. Yeah,
it just seems that like all. This week was obviously started really negatively because of the way the transfer window ended. And I think that's fair, but everybody who was kicking off on Monday night about the transfer window, I think all their answers have been proved correct within the first game. And yeah, it's going to take time, but why are we doing, if we are going to start changing squads around in the depth and the makeup of the squad, why are we doing it in the middle of the season to make us look shitter?
I think the January transfer window is essentially there to improve your chances going into the back end of the season.
Yeah.
Not the other way around, not to actually for your detriment. So yeah, it was all very bizarre. And that's a really good point actually, Jack. I think I did set the tone, didn't it, for the week really?
Yeah.
The fact that we didn't sign any players, it all seemed a bit doom and gloom after that transfer window ended. And that I suppose that did carry on to it. So yeah, let's look at the first half then of the game.
What happened? Nothing. Nothing happened.
Yeah, nothing really happened, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, there was half chances. I don't know if you want to put it down to that. The cross from Matoma to Kostulas, who sort of, had a bit of a interesting. Well, he missed the ball, didn't he? So it wasn't the best. But what do you think of the first half, Jack?
Don't know. Nothing really happened. It was pretty common of pretty much every first half I've watched at the Amex this season, to be honest. Just really
it's becoming a pattern,
dull, really dull football, and it is becoming a pattern. You're right. It is, it's the same as the Everton game that week. The Burnley game was okay, but then Burnley, they're actively revolting against their manager, and he seems to be impossible that man will ever get sacked. And then you look at so many other games, it's like dull,
talking about Burnley
dull.
or Brighton,
and there's no energy in the team, is there, at all in the first half? So, yeah, first half crap, to be honest, all round. Players should be really disappointed with that first half.
Yeah, especially at home against,
Well, actually, no, because I'm going to change my mind actually on that. The players, I'm not as disappointed with the players as I thought I'd be, because I don't think players actively don't put effort in. Because they always put effort in. And these players just they look tactically lost all game.
I was about to say, I think it was the way that we set up did not help them at all. And I think that's again, I don't want this to be a bashing of Hurzeler the whole episode. No. But I'll be honest, this is the first time, and if you guys thought we were going to get him, I got emotional last time. You're in for a treat now. But it was the first time, and I sent you a text, didn't I, Jack, or a screenshot of my group chat, and it was the first time that I actively said, I think it's time. I think it's time to look at elsewhere with Hurzeler, because I've been very pro Hurzeler. I think he's a young coach. He's still got lots to learn. We've said this multiple times now. He's made lots of mistakes, but it doesn't seem like he's learning from them. I think that's my biggest frustration. He just doesn't seem to learn. And so for the first time against Palace, I watched that game and I thought, that's just embarrassing. Like what did we do in that game? Like what do we offer? And I think that was a massive part down to Hurzeler, the way he set up the team, the plays he started, the plays he brought on. It just, for me, it just lacked any kind of know-how from a manager. And again, you could put it down to inexperience, but if he is inexperienced, then respectfully go learn elsewhere and get better somewhere else. But because at the moment you're not improving the team, we're not seeing a style of play, we're not seeing anything to suggest that this is going to turn around. We've won one game in 12 games. And then he keeps going, I need to find a solution. Why didn't you find a solution 9 games ago? Why didn't you do something different? Why is it taking you so long?
Thing. I need to find a solution. So what he's doing to find a solution is just doing the same thing again.
Yeah. It's like insanity.
It's not changing, is it? Like it is just like, and this idea, we need to find solutions. What solution? What solution is going to change anything? And
Especially with, as we mentioned just now, we've got less players now to help with the squad. So, if you do want to make tinks or changes, like for example, if you was going to bring a Watson in or a Gruder in, or change Coppola, bring Coppola in, he can't do those things now because they've all gone out on loan, and he doesn't have the options out. He brought Matt O'Reilly back, but anyway, if I speak,
what role does he fill
in
that
big trouble?
4 other players in this squad doesn't?
Exactly. What is he going to bring that Gruder couldn't have brought? Or I don't know. Fucking it's all bizarre. Yeah. It's all very strange. It's all going peak Tom.
And on the starting lineup thing, someone he just doesn't seem to have any idea about. I don't know what the hell has happened. Is Veltman. We always play well with Veltman. Yet Veltman is just ignored. When he came on against Everton, we didn't defend so great, but he came against Everton and then we scored. Yeah. Everything when we do it good, Veltman's on the pitch. Again, for another game in a row, he goes, I can't be bothered. I'm just going to not play Veltman. It's a blind spot because he started the game like he started the Everton game. And in that game, we didn't change it until he made his amazing changes, which he did again. And they were baffling this time, I will say. Like, we'll get to the second half, I'm sure, but they were baffling.
No, 100%. And also as well, the fact that he was an unused sub is to me just baffles me. Right. However, I just wanted to caveat, I remember the Everton game, he did have massively heavily strapped knee or...
Then he shouldn't be in the squad.
No, I agree. No, I'm with you. Like, why put him in the squad if he is injured?
Why put him in the squad? Why be him an option? Why sit there as a club, sitting around with your only natural right back being injured?
Yeah.
And we don't even make a move for a right back. We don't even look to do anything. We've just ignored this right back problem for ages, and it's likely in the summer, unless Veltman suddenly decides to sign a new contract, since nobody seems to want to sign a new contract at this club at the moment. Unless he decides to sign a new contract, then we're kind of got Charlie Tasker as the only right back in the team, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like Charlie Tasker. I think he's a good little player, but he's 19 and that made no Premier League appearances.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that's the option.
No, mental. We've been screaming genuinely. I think if you have been a listener of this podcast for the last 3 years, we've literally pretty much every transfer window said we need a right back, and it just doesn't seem to be happening. So, I don't know what the club's plans are. It's been all very strange on the transfer side of things. All been very weird. But just quickly, Jack, before we get onto the second half, I think a sign of what was to come, maybe, with Ismail Sarr. He had a big chance, didn't he, where he smashed it wide. And for me, it sort of showed a sign of, what was to come, really, in hindsight. I know, obviously, at the time, he probably didn't think it. But, it showed that, we lack that pace, especially Buscagli. I spoke to you off camera. And, like, his lack of pace is quite worrying, I suppose.
But don't worry, we're just going to play a really high line.
Yeah, that'll sort it. Maybe that's one of the solutions, Jack. Maybe that's what Hurzeler's...
No, but he's not. But he's not stopped doing that. Like, that's been the solution for the last 3 or 4 games. You could see in the Bournemouth game, in that first half against Bournemouth, they were all over us. They were in behind every time. You had Evan Nilsson and other players. They were getting in time and time again. And it was a really, really poor performance. It was quite like, I don't think I've seen us put in such a pathetic performance. And there's a lot of emotions around this game, but I don't think I've seen us put in such a pathetic performance since maybe that Houghton game against Cardiff. I think we're looking that far back, and it was a shocker, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it was terrible. And I think Verbruggen actually saved us from, it could have been a way worse scoreline than the 1-0 that it was. But going into the second half, Jack, Glasner brought on Guessand, who genuinely, when I watched him for Villa, was probably one of the worst players I've ever seen live. And then he actually played quite well, annoyingly, for Palace when he came on. And he was part of that goal. He did set up Ismail Sarr for that goal. And Jack, just talk me through that goal. Yeah, just terrible round, wasn't it?
Shit all round. I'm sure probably, I think we've had a couple of these, post really bad losses or really depressing losses where I've been, quite analytical and done a lot of talking. That was just shit. And it was weird in my seat. Like, when that went in, I was just like, I've seen this goal so many times this season. Just, somebody moved out of position. Then how does Sarr have so much time and space? Why was no one checking?
What was Kadioglu doing, by the way?
Why did Ferdy just run across the box to the other side?
I love Ferdy. He's been our best player this season. But what the fuck was he doing?
But because there's no discipline in defending. There's no discipline in the structures because we're playing a high line. We're playing this high line, and it just, as soon as a pacey player gets in behind, every single player, because they're slow, is just desperately trying to get the ball. We're swarming on the ball almost, aren't we? It is, and I've described it quite a few times, and the bloke who sits in front of me, Phil, is probably very used to me shouting this, but it's like school kids playing.
I was just about to say, like a playground, yeah.
It's like a playground football game where everybody just runs after the ball. And then you've got, someone like Sarr just drifting. He didn't even need, nobody's even watching him. Drifting in completely, and nobody's taking charge because of the high line, we're always in a panic station, aren't we? We're always panicked when we're defending because the ball over the top just works every time, and you've got people running, and then you're looking at Dunk in a foot race with someone like Sarr, and then you've got someone like Ferdy who's going to see either Boskagli or Dunk or even Van Heck, because he's not the quickest. They're going to see those two players in the foot race, and they're immediate thought, and it's the immediate thought of everyone when you're defending like that. Even you're like, right, I'm going to try and get to the ball first. I don't care what they're doing. They're not going to catch up with him. It's my job. And that is what Ferdy is doing and whoever else is on the pitch. And yeah, it just happens every single time. But Dunk's got to be a bit, he's a little bit at fault for playing the ball straight to the attacker.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't have defended like that.
No, 100%. And also as well, even the finish, like it's hit Verbruggen in the head and just gone in. It's like, it's not even a good finish. Like, it was a good finish. I'm like, yeah, fair enough. He's done what he needs to do.
Yeah.
But he's just smacked at his head and it's gone in. And all round, terrible goal. Yeah, like you said, the clearance from Dunk, then Kanioglu just running into nowhere. And then, of course, Shmeli Sarr's got the pace to run away.
And that, like, Ferdy Kanioglu, it's all the players are just trying to make up for mistakes. They're all just desperately, and this is where I think the little bit of the, like, the beginning, like the players' performance was disgraceful. That's where I'm starting to lean a bit more towards this is the tactical side. They don't know their role. They don't know their role at all. So they're just like running across the box in just like complete diagonal lines because they haven't got a set role that they should be doing when they're defending, or the defending has got so panicked and so many players have made mistakes because they're not quite sure where they are, or we're playing kamikaze tactics again. You've just got them trying to make up for each other, and it's not good, man. It's not good. Like there were moments where Harry Howe was back trying to essentially play right wing back because of a mistake someone else has made. And Ferdy played his best football left back this season, but he's just been shunted over to right back because
insane.
Who knows? Because he's scared of Joel Veltman. I don't know.
Veltman's got nudes of Hurzeler, I reckon.
Yeah,
but
that means he would play every week.
Oh, sorry,
that was
the
a
opposite.
poor analogy.
The opposite. The complete opposite. Sorry.
I'm going for everyone today.
Yeah. To be fair, that was rightfully so. I fucked that one up. Good. But just talking about mistakes, Jack, because talking about mistakes, that Baleba chance, I actually forgot to say, the Sarr chance in the first half was actually because of Baleba's mistake, wasn't it? And that again, Baleba's been an absolute shell of himself all season. And, is that down to Hurzeler not coaching him correctly or not giving him the right responsibilities? Or is that just because Baleba is going through a bad period of form? The whole Manchester United debacle, was that like a big thing on him? But surely by now,
but he's back.
We're in February now.
Baleba's always made mistakes, I think, is fair to say. I think he's never been the most disciplined player.
Yeah.
I still think he had a good game. I thought he was one of the better players in our midfield yesterday. And I think since he's come back from AFCON, he's been a better player. I think the Fulham game, it was like, wow, I remember watching the Fulham game being like, wow, this is the Baleba we know and love. And Everton, he still did pretty well in the Everton game. And I think he did well. But again, he was playing in a different formation because, in the last few games we've had Gomez playing in the maybe slightly more deeper midfielder. We had Baleba and Gross in midfield. It kind of seemed like people seemed a bit lost at what they were doing. Gross was everywhere, to be fair to him. And all credit to him. He was trying to get involved in every challenge, and it was just leaving so much exposure. I don't think the players know what they're doing.
Yeah, no.
That's what is worrying me, because it does look like the players have no idea what they're meant to be doing.
I mean, performances suggest that you're right, Jack. The performances have been terrible, to be honest, in most parts. Of course, there's been individual, I think moments of brilliance from players on the pitch that have sort of got us out of a bit of a hole. But sadly, I just feel like as much as I wanted to believe in Hurzeler and how much I wanted to back him, and I wanted it to work desperately. I was one of his biggest advocates. I've never really shitted on him. I've never really said anything bad about him. But yesterday, I just watched that game and I thought, what have you done? What have you done to improve since last season?
Yeah.
We're regressing every game. Nothing's getting better. And sadly, I think it's just the writing's on the wall, especially with the reaction at the end. But we're going to get onto that. But yeah, Jack, after the 1-0, I think we mentioned at the beginning, Jack, it just didn't seem like anything was going to change.
No.
It didn't give us any hope. We had no hope as fans to think, oh yeah, we might turn this around. We've seen it so many times last season, even season before that. Times where in the last minute, I remember the Man United game at home and João Pedro. That was just last season, I think it was. When he scored in a 90 plus minute. Just those kind of moments. I just never felt that was coming at any stage yesterday. I just didn't feel confident. Apart from Castulas when he was through one-on-one, I can't remember a big chance, really.
No, and we just weren't, the things that we were trying to do just weren't working. We were still persisting with this. I mean, all respect to Georgie, I think he's a good player. How on earth that man stayed on the pitch for 82 minutes yesterday was, to the point where I was just going, we need to drag him. And then the changes are made and he brings on Gomez for, I can't remember. And Gomez, I think, was an okay sub. Gomez for Belieber, but
yeah.
Belieber and
Minter
Gomez.
For Howe and Welbeck for Kuiper.
That Belieber Gomez sub doesn't work. It doesn't work. They don't play the same role. I think what the problem was yesterday, we all looked tired again. Again, the teams just looked lethargic and unfit. Another big worry that has been persisted all season. But he came on and he's legs. And that's one thing I will give Gomez credit for. I don't think he's like the most amazing player, but he runs. He runs and runs and runs and runs.
Okay. Stoppable on his day.
Yeah, and bring him on for legs was the right decision. Was it for Belieber? I don't think so, because we then just lost the midfield. And then once we lose the midfield, we lose our biggest creator. Because our biggest creator is Pascal Gross. And if we can't get the ball to stick to him, we can't get him putting in crosses, because we've decided that, that the midfield doesn't matter now, and we're going to try go on the wings, to a Minter who's just getting man-marked by two players. It was so all over the place. And then we brought on Matt O'Reilly, and he actually looked okay. So maybe my agenda ends now. But he was about the only positive sub, and he just played one ball. And I remember that ball went straight over to the from the right hand side to the left hand side, and Gross brought it down, played it back to Minter. Gross way offside, a good 2 or 3 yards offside. Minter just goes, "Oh yeah, I'll just pass it to him," and it's just like, we're not playing to our players' strengths at all. Gross seemed to go up wide at one point. It was just... I was going to say, once the subs started going in, that's where I really started to get concerned, because you could see players all over the place, like, going, what am I doing?
Yeah, well, you saw De Kuiper's reaction, didn't you?
Yeah.
That telling him to fuck off when he got subbed, which I don't think is ever a good sign. And I know that's frustration. That's frustration. I get it. Yeah. It's frustration. He obviously wants to stay on the pitch. I don't think it was a personal attack at Hurzeler.
No.
But I think it was a sign. I don't think it was a massive thing. But again, I think these things get magnified, don't they? Massively. Yeah. When a game of this magnitude happens, we also have a bad result. Us as fans always try and look at the little bits to pick apart, because you're angry, you want to maybe jump on Hurzeler and use as many things. So I don't think it was a personal attack, but again, it showed the frustration of some of the players, I think, and that's a good thing, I suppose. At least he showed a bit of frustration, I suppose. Obviously, he's not going to be like, yeah, thanks for taking me off, but at least he's shown a bit of something. I don't know. At least,
and this is why I kind of look at this thing that, like, the players aren't not trying. Like, the players will always try, in my opinion. Like, we don't have players who are just like arseholes anymore. Like we have in the past. Don't get me wrong. We've had players like Leon Best who just didn't care. Who you could tell just didn't care, didn't put the effort in. I think these players all care and they want it to work. And especially some of them, you had Lewis Dunk at the end, like, he was running down he was running down the goalkeeper, which was
he was playing up top at one point, wasn't he?
Yeah, and like, all credit to Lewis Dunk for trying to do that and trying to make something happen, because we had no other idea. Like, we were just, and then, I remember, I think the ball went down to Boscagli and he played a long ball up and it just sailed straight out. And it was just like, I think people just started booing near me when that happened. It was just like, how can this be our only tactic with this, £200 million worth of talent that we allegedly have? The only tactic is let's give it to Boskagli to boot up to Dunk. So we've got two centre halves playing with each other. Like, it's that was quite something. And then I think once that next round of subs got made, I think you could see players were not understanding what they're meant to be doing. Yep. Verbruggen ran over to the dugout to ask for instructions, which basically looked like him saying who should be playing left back. I don't even know who was playing left back at the end of the game. I think Matoma was almost sitting. No, he was sitting in a right back, I think. Matoma was sitting in a right wing back. I think we had, I don't know who was over at the left back role. And then we had, I think Ferdy was over there. Gross seemed to be playing centre half alongside Boskagli. Dunk was up front. Yeah. Minter, I don't think it seemed like no one was actually in position. Gomez was just nowhere. Gomez was just everywhere at the same time. Welbeck just seemed to be, and then all of a sudden, Matoma appeared in a box with like one chance, half chance that could have happened. It was just, it was just mad. It was just a madness game. Like, it was an end of the game of a manager to just like, and well, we might as well get on to the reaction now. Yeah. But it's when people started to turn, because it was so obvious from the stands that we were kind of just hopeless.
Yeah, well, what did you make of that booing? Because again, there was boos. Actually, the chanting as well. I want to talk about the chanting because look, this has divided a few fans. Also in the media. The media have sort of obviously made a big point out of it. The fact that Brighton fans were chanting, "You're getting sacked in the morning," which look. We can laugh and look at the funny side of it, but obviously it's a very there's something sinister underneath it, as in not sinister, that's the wrong word. There's something
it's a man's job at the end of the day, isn't it?
Obviously there's something. I think people, the reason why Brighton fans are chanting that is obviously born out of frustration, obviously out of love of the club. They want the club to do better on the pitch, aspirations from the board saying that we want to be a top 5 club, but we're playing more like a bottom 3 club. There's a lot to sort of dissect as fans, and obviously a lot of emotions going through, and especially losing 1-0 to your biggest rivals, you are going to boo and show your frustration. Exactly. However, one thing I will say personally, I'm not a fan of that. I don't think we should be singing. Booing, fine. Booing, I'm cool with that. But the singing, you're getting sacked in the morning. Maybe I know it was in jest, probably, and I think
I don't think it was in jest, but
I just don't think. I think to sing that about your own manager is just not the one. That's just my personal opinion, and I don't agree with it. But the booing, I'm all, fine. That's the way you want to voice your opinion. Absolutely fine. But for me to do the chants, I just think that's poor taste. And also doesn't help things, doesn't help matters. No. It's just always, if anything, it's just going to make the manager less want to connect with us as much as he hasn't wanted to connect with us. And I think that's one of his biggest downfalls. So far. Sorry, I'm going off on loads of tangents here. But he's one of his biggest downfalls for me is the fact his lack of connectivity with the fans. And I think that's really, really helped him because not helped him because I think if he had connected with us in a way that we would give him a bit more grace, we'd be like, okay, cool, like we like him, we're on board with Hurzeler, we can see the vision, we want to do good by him. But he hasn't given us that energy back, and as fans we want to connect with the manager, and we're not getting that from him at all. Like even yesterday when he just walked straight down the tunnel, he didn't even stand up to the fans. I think was it Rutter went over, Minter went over, a few of the players went over and sort of apologised, but he just straight down the tunnel. Then he's come out in the press conference saying, everyone's within their right to boo me, and I'll find solutions and all this stuff. But just a little small gesture of just going up to the fans, giving a little clap, saying sorry, or any kind of gesture, I think that would speak volumes. And I think fans will be so much more inclined to actually be on his side rather than to go against him and actually start booing him and give him a bit more of a grace period rather than now actually just booing him and wanting him out the club. Because I think now, like you said, Jack, earlier, it's got to the point of no return. And I think it's going to take a monumental shift. He's got to, I think, win the next 8 games, 10 games to get us back on his side. Even a couple of wins on the bounce, I don't think it's going to do much. So, he hasn't helped himself at all, but I don't think he's 100% to blame. I think that's where I stand with him. I think he's like 60 to 70%, 30% maybe the board and other exterior factors.
Yeah. There was a lot to dissect there from the fans. It's a bit like me swapping roles.
It's the most I've ever spoke, I think.
No, I agree with you. I don't like singing sacked in the morning. I think while the game's going on, you should always back the team until the final whistle. Then you're welcome to sing, I guess, to a certain extent, you're welcome to sing sacked in the morning. I don't necessarily agree with that or boo, but yesterday I really couldn't muster the courage to give a shit. I know that sounds really bad, but like I couldn't, people around me were arguing. There were like people having like big arguments in West Stand Upper between each other about it. And like, yeah, I don't necessarily agree with it, but what we were served up yesterday was really, really bad. And, I think it's like a fire. It just spreads. One person probably started singing it, and then a lot of people just went, actually, I don't really care about this guy. And his lack of doing this sort of, when we win, being in with the fans, when we lose, apologising to the fan, being the first over to clap. When he does that, if he's not going to show the fans as much respect, we're probably not going to show him much respect. And yeah, it just kind of shows it's a real sort of summary of what's gone wrong recently. Like it's a real disconnect from the players to the players and the management to the stand. And fair play to Minty and Jorginho coming over and actually apologising, because I'd imagine there's a lot of very angry bald men, me included, who would shout something back at them. Yeah. And that's not an easy thing to do, and I don't necessarily think it's right still as well, but it still remains that they came over and apologised and they realised what they'd done wrong. The manager, to us at least, and maybe he does it more behind closed door, doesn't seem to take any responsibility for any of it. And that's it does very much seem an employee-employer contract. Much less than it was to Zerbi, which was like, we're going to give you free reign. This is sort of like an employee who's part of the process, who's part of the whole thing. And that's why he says, trust the process, trust the process. He's not the one leading the process. He's the one following the process from above. And I think, as much as it is, he's just a guy in the middle of it. I don't think what he's doing is necessarily like the be-all of the problem. But what he served up yesterday was bad. And he's ultimately, whether it's the coaching team as a whole, what some of the mistakes we made, whether it's just him, it was all just an absolute mess from top to bottom. And, when the players are looking confused on the pitch, you really start to scratch your head and go, do you know what? And I think you're right. I don't think he comes back from that. At the very least, he probably gets to end of the season.
I doubt they're going to sack him. Unless we go on another maybe 3 or 4 games without a win, maybe. But
I think
can't.
Yeah, I think we've got 2 quite integral games now that I feel like we've said that for the last 5 or 6 games. These 2 games have been quite integral. And look, at the end of the day, we don't look like picking up a win for love or money. We've got Villa next, away, somewhere where we traditionally are shit. Brentford, somewhere away that traditionally we aren't that good, other than the 1 win we got first season in their stadium. We could lose both of those. And in that period, West Ham could win 2 games. They're in form. I think they've got... Jared Bowen is a cracking player. He can almost drag them out of it single-handedly if he's really playing well. So, for me, it's a big, big worry over the next 2 games that we could get seriously dragged into a relegation fight.
Do you know what,
don't
Jack?
sack him. Sorry, that's going to sound really insane now, but this is being my opinion for a lot of the day. Maybe it'll change it, and I'm sure somebody in the comments will call me a bedwetter, but I don't care.
Well, I do
seriously worry if we do not sack him now that we will get dragged into a relegation battle.
See, I disagree. I don't think we're going to be in a relegation battle. I don't think it's going to get that bad. However, that's not to say it can't happen. I'm not saying it definitely won't happen, but I think we're 8 points clear of the drop zone now. I just can't see that gap getting so. I mean,
8 points. It's 3 wins.
It's not.
It's 3 wins.
True. I mean, look, okay, look.
We need
right
40
now,
points. We need 40 points.
Yeah,
At the end of the day,
I don't think it's going to happen. However, what I'd love to happen, Jack, is him to do an Ange Postecoglou, win the FA Cup, and then see you later at the end of the season. How about that? We'll take that, won't we?
Well, yeah, obviously I'd take that, but Like, yeah, that seems even more far-fetched than a relegation. So,
Do you reckon? Mate, Ange Postecoglou won the Europa League and finished 17th.
he did, but then, to win the FA Cup, you need to play teams in this league. You don't need to play Bodo Glimt and Manchester United.
Put some respect on Bodo Glimt, mate. They're in the Champions League.
They do really well against everyone else from England. So Spurs have obviously got the one team they could beat. But, you look at how crap Spurs are this season and how good they are in the Champions League. And I think that just about summarises European football in its current state. But it's, I don't know. I just think that, like, I've said this a couple of times, but I really just think it's time to do it now. I think before it gets too late. Because then we could be, like you say, in a relegation dogfight.
Yeah.
Let's say West Ham win their next two. I'm not saying they're going to, but let's say they win their next two and we lose our next two. We'll be 3 points off relegation. We'll be 2 points off relegation. And then all of a sudden, it'll be like, oh no. It does sort of feel like the second Houghton season a little bit. Like we've seen these patterns before. I don't know, but then this season just seems to be mirroring last season, but maybe potentially like worse. Don't know.
Well, yeah, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. That was incredibly doom and gloom, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was. I'm trying to keep the peace here, but look, things aren't great. Let's just be very frank about it. The things aren't going well for us, as to say the least. 1 win in 12 is really poor.
I will say, like, positive things. A positive thing that fine, okay. It looks like we're going to keep Hurzeler. I think if he was going to go after that game, he would have been gone already. So let's live in a world where he's going to stay. He's going to stay for at least the next game or at least the next 2 games. What he needs to do is he just needs to get the players back to doing the basic things right, because we're not doing the basic thing right. And that is a very simple fix. And that's what happened in De Zerbi's bad run. In De Zerbi's bad run, he couldn't get anything out of them. But all of a sudden, he went, I remember we played Villa. I think we played Villa at home, played Nottingham Forest at home. That was maybe a bit earlier before the bad run really set in. But played Nottingham Forest at home. And it was a really basic... We went 1-0 up and then just defended, did everything right, concentrated on the game, didn't do any of this highline bullshit, just did 2 banks of 4, played back. The same we did against Villa. Villa were in a great form at the time. They're playing European football, looking like they're qualifying for Europe again. All we did, again, bank of 4, sat back, defended, did really well, sort of... these banks of 4, just play simple stuff. We've got the players that which are experienced and can play simple, basic football. But if you're asking players like Boskagli and Lewis Dunk to play high lines, it's not going to work. This high line experiment has been going on since we lost 4-2 to Chelsea a year and a half ago. And it didn't work then. It's still not working now with the players you've got. So either you adapt to the players you've got or you go out and find players that you need. You've had 18 months to do that. So I think there is a little bit of a combination, because are we not giving him the players that we need to play that type of football?
Well, I mean, look, Jack, we spent, was it 200 million plus in the summer transfer window. I don't think it was a case of they've obviously spent a lot of money, but again, is that because they've given it to him as like a sort of war chest and they spent the money, obviously, and they've not really, consulted him on the players he wants to get? But surely as a manager, you have to stand up for yourself and be like, well, I want to play this, I want to play X, Y, Z. I need these players to come in. Otherwise, how am I meant to succeed?
And we've got players in that can play like different styles, or maybe we can change it up. I think we've got a decentish squad. He just does even bizarre things with the players that we have. I think Jorginho is a player that he just woefully misused this season. He pushes him out wide. We can't get anything out of him because he can't get a run of games in the same position before we decide, oh yeah, someone else needs a go. Gruder, he finally starts playing him a bit. Had a great performance at Old Trafford. One poor performance against Bournemouth, or below average performance. He's gone. He's not even that, like, okay, well, we might try a different tactic. It's just he's gone out the door. It's I don't get it, man. I just don't get it.
I just want to ask you about again, sort of talk about the media and certain comments that are made. So one interesting post-match press conference was from Lewis Dunk, who mentioned basically like the club have been in worse positions before. Let's not forget that. And then there was obviously an article as well that said about the fact we're only 3 points off the top half finish with 13 games left. is that a more telling reflection of our entitlement and our inflated expectations as Brighton fans? Now, this was interesting. So I'll start and I'll give my sort of perspective on it. I think it's quite disrespectful or quite rude, really, I suppose, to say that to fans who invest a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of emotions into the football club, and the fact that, like, we want to do, we want to be the best we can be, right? We're not here for mediocrity. We don't want to be middle of the table. As football fans, you all want to go towards winning the title. Again, it might not be achievable, but that's the aim of the game, right? Otherwise, why the hell are we here? Like, what's the point? Do you just want to be, mid-table for the rest of your existence? Of course, you want to win trophies. You want to get to Europe. You want to try and win the Premier League. Like, that's the whole point of this. So the fact that you're saying
eventually,
well, but that's the whole point of football, right? Well, as in, like, as a fan, you want to win things. Yeah. So the fact that, saying, oh, remember where you came from, and we were in League One not too long ago. Remember that? And it's like, but we're not now. We're in the Premier League now, and we have been for like 8 years. So. And we've had success. We've been in Europe, and again, I do get it to a degree. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't have such high expectations of having to be in Europe every season. But if the club at the top are going, oh, top 5 finish this season, that's what we're going for. That's what we're aiming for. Well, then that's what we're going to expect as fans, and that's what we're going to feel like we are aiming for, and we're not doing that right now. We've won one game in 12. Things aren't going well on the pitch. Things aren't going off the pitch. So how can we as fans sit there and be like, yeah, this is great. Well done, guys. Like, well done. Like, clapping along and not booing the manager. It's like, you're not giving us much to go by. And also this whole remember where we came from narrative, I'm not a fan of. I just think it's a bit disrespectful, really. Yeah. Because we've got to live in the here and now. And what we have achieved in the last couple of seasons has been Europe, has been top 8 finishes. It has been success in relative to where we are, what we are as a club. So I don't agree with some of the comments that have come out. And maybe they're not been made to come out like that way, but they feel like they have, and they have pissed off a lot of fans, including me, clearly. What do you think, Jack, on the whole situation?
The Lewis Dunk interview, I'll tackle that one first. I think we've been in a lot worse positions. This is the club. I don't think is that unfair, considering I think he's mainly referencing the singing, the sat in the morning thing. I think as club captain, you don't want your fans on a different page. Forget what Fabian thinks. We don't really know what he thinks of the fans, full stop. But we all know Lewis Dunk does care deeply about the club. It sounds like with the news that came out today about his possible transfer, that whether it's true or not is a mystery to us all. But it does sound like he gives a shit and wants to be here, and that this is his club, and fully respect him for that. And yeah, it kind of shows why he's so liked around the club. He's not saying that to have a dig at the fans. He knows fans. He I'm sure he's from Brighton. He probably personally knows them. He'll know how they feel. He'll know how that people aren't demanding that we get Europe every season. And that's what it's spun as by some media sources. It's spun that we're just like, oh yeah, we want Europe, we're all entitled. Such a lazy way of looking at it. Because I don't think us two, when we make our predictions, we're not going, we want to finish 6th. Like, oh, our expectation is 6th. Or maybe we might say at the beginning of the season, but I don't think that's like our, that's our minimum expectation. But what we're doing at the moment is way below that. Like, that is interesting, that article. We're only 3 points off a top half finish. About a month ago, those same articles were saying we were only 3 points off Europe. Like, the expectations that we're meant to have seem to be going down, And in terms of like, oh, well, you shouldn't be expecting this, you should be expecting this. And yeah, it's really patronising. Like, my friends, I know friends who happily admitted to me that they booed or they sang sacked in the morning. And while I didn't necessarily agree with them, like, they're not entitled fans. They follow this club every week up and down the country. Like, they go, they're going to Villa on Wednesday night. They're going to Sunderland, and they've paid for hotels and train tickets and a lot of money put into this club, and a lot of money ultimately to back the manager. This is us putting money, our own money, into backing the manager and saying, we support you. That's the point of a supporter. And we're doing that, and they're just going, and it's going like, oh, you're not supporting the team. Like, we are showing faith by showing our loyalty to the club. Like, we're not, my friends could have easily gone to that game and I think we all felt like it. Like, I was dreading the digital ticket link appearing in my email inbox. But, a lot of fans, we could just go like, nah, I'm not going to bother now. These lot of shit, they don't care. But we are going to do it and we are going to show them support. So we're not entitled. We are just showing, and we all want, ultimately, everybody wants what's best for the football club. We just have a different perspective in it. What we want is best is we want us to be at the top of the league, whereas some people see it as sustainability and maybe a long-term project for Hurzeler. And I think I did for a long time. I saw it as a long-term project, but he's not learning anything. Like, there is no long-term project here. It's just duff football. And we just make the same mistakes every week because it does seem like there's just a lack of discipline. Like, not a lack of discipline in that everybody's misbehaving and breaking rules and not turning up in time to training. Although that was a problem at one point throughout the seasons. But it seems more that, like, it's a discipline in terms of their footballing ability and their understanding formations and just the discipline in how to play football the basic way. Because that's all Palace have done. That's all Palace have done, is done the basics really well and become so good and so concise at having a manager who instills that within them. And to a certain extent, that is what De Zerbi did. And I don't think De Zerbi is the answer to all our problems. Go back. Well, they lost 5-0 to PSG last night. But I don't think he's the answer to all our problems. But one thing that I think I've noticed from West Stand up definitely is the passing. The passing is so shit. Every time a player receives the ball, it seems to be they've had it powered into them, or they've had it like drilled passed to their like knee, and they're having to control it with their knee or something and bring it down. Under De Zerbi, first thing that he did in training, I'm sure the players said it in an article somewhere, was he came in and he went, right, I want us to be the best passing team ever. So all he did for training was pass. And all the players were like, I'm sure Lewis Dunn said, first few weeks we had no idea what he was doing, but there was all a plan at the end of it. It seems to me that the players aren't getting drilled in any of this stuff. They're not getting drilled in like, right, just pass. Get used to it. Your midfield players, our midfielders don't really pass to each other. The amount of times Boskagli yesterday would get the ball and just play it straight out because he's not as good. He's not drilled in passing. He's not drilled in the basics, and then as well, like the crossing, it's every time it's straight to the wing, cut inside. Remember under De Zerbi, and I'm not saying De Zerbi's the answer, but I'm just remembering how he get. Mitoma is a superb player. Mitoma is probably one of the best I've ever seen play for Brighton. Under De Zerbi, if he was to cross the ball, it'd always be an early cross at the edge of the pitch. And if not, he'd take on his man and go to the byline. Now he's doing the same, cutting back, going in, because he doesn't have the confidence to do it. He's not told, this is what you're good at, do this and nothing else. It's baffling. It's like we're trying to reinvent the wheel. I don't get it. I don't get what he's trying to do with these players.
I think that's why the grace period now sort of ended for me, because it's like each week I watch it and nothing's improved. I don't see the signs that things are going to get better. And yeah, sadly, he's not. I've wanted him to work so desperately. I want him to be.
I want every Brighton manager to do well.
Of course.
And I still want him to do well. That's the thing. Like, if he turns it around for Villa and goes onwards, but it will be a little bit of a repeated pattern that he's going to be shit throughout December and January and then turn it around and go on a massive run, which will ultimately cost us Europe. Yeah, and lose to our biggest rivals.
Yeah, it's the writing's on the wall, isn't it? Sadly, I think. But we say that, you never know. You never know. Like you said, Jack, if he turns it around, we're all going to be there at the end of the season, living the dream. But yeah, let's see. Like you said, it's the immediate impact now on Wednesday. 3 days until our next game?
Yeah, I will say something, because obviously, like, something's come up quite a lot that it could be worse. But what we do is we don't do anything different. We need an edge. I think the whole football club needs this. The recruitment's pretty bland now. We're looking at players like, who do we bring in this summer? Max de Kuiper, just a pretty standard left back. I think he's been harshly treated by the fans, actually. A group of people decided he couldn't defend, so just say he's shit all the time.
Yeah, ran with the narrative the whole season.
Run with that narrative. But then some of the other players, we're looking at Joe Gomez. What's different about Joe Gomez compared to anyone else? Who else do we bring in the summer? Costulas, that's probably one different, but we've gone way too young on that And we're not really doing like what we used to do, where we used to be so good at like finding the little hidden gem, to sort of the little bit of data that nobody else was proving. Now we're just bringing in physical athlete players who just don't really do anything interesting. You know, Gomez, like I hate slandering Gomez because I think he worked so hard, that boy, but he doesn't do anything. There's no every single benefit, when you list his benefits down, is about working hard or running a lot or just being energy, little stats. There's no flair. The algorithm seems to be completely ignoring flair. It's like the South American exodus. South Americans, when they play football, are flair. They do something you aren't expected. Stuff that you can't quite account for with data. And we're just sort of gutting us, aren't we, of those people? Like, we're completely gutting any sort of flair and talent other than Matoma. And we seem to just be regressing him. We seem to be like moulding him into this.
Even with Pascal, like, don't get me wrong, his chance creation is pretty good, but I still feel like we're not getting the best out of Pascal. Like,
I haven't seen a gross turn. I've seen like one.
Do you know what I mean? Get the gross turn back. This is what I mean. No, but all joking aside, I feel like he isn't getting the best out of the players, especially the younger players. I don't think he's nurturing them or developing them. I think, if anything, that they're getting worse. Even the established players, he's not getting the best out of those. It's like, so if you're not getting the best out of the established players, and you're not getting the best out of the young and up and coming players, who the hell are you getting the best out of? And the answer to me is no one right now. And so that is the biggest worry. It's just that tactically he's not improving. The players aren't improving.
No.
And he just doesn't seem to learn from his mistakes. And I think that's really big alarm bells are ringing, because I wanted to give him a grace, but now I'm like, I can't.
We need an edge.
Anymore.
We need something to make us different. We need something to make us like not play the same football as everyone else. We need someone like like a Julio, maybe not Julio Enciso, but someone who's a bit flary and can sort of grab those. And I thought we had that in Gruder, but he's gone now.
Yeah.
I think yesterday you had Jorginho wasn't working in the number 10 position. Big, sort of powerful, that's his kind of thing, that he is a bit more powerful, he can drive forward. Maybe bring on someone who's a bit techie, who's a bit like, I never thought I'd use the word techie, but bring on somebody who's a bit like, he's got a bit of, when he's on the ball, he can sort of, play well in the tight spaces, because Palace were digging in a bit. He brings on Matt O'Reilly, just exactly the kind of same player as Jorginho, but just not as good. Yeah, it didn't make any sense to me.
It is completely frustrating, yeah. And it was actually interesting. I saw a tweet from, I think just a random Premier League fan. I don't know what team he supported, but he tweeted saying, watching Brighton this season, they're extremely boring. And it's so funny, because we used to be the side that fans would say, oh, I love Brighton in the Premier League. They bring such a, great football to the league. They're actually, they might be a small club, but they play really good football. They, upset the big teams at times. And we have, to be fair, historically, we have got a really good record against the top six. And I think fans appreciated our style of play. They liked the fact that we were attacking. We had a bit of, a little magic dusting of something that we brought to games. But it's, now, fans watch us and think, this is fucking a shambles. Like,
even someone like Matoma just looks really... like I said, he's just... it was so good. You'd watch Matoma get to that byline, and he would take on players. I remember that Bournemouth player kneeling down, and he was almost praying to stop him. He doesn't do that anymore, because it seems to have been coached out of him, or he's not told to do that. It seems to be, look for the easy option. It's so safe. I think we just need to look to a manager who's just going to bring something new ideas. I think the whole club, maybe the recruitment team or whatever, just needs some new ideas. We got rid of a whole recruitment team. That's, in hindsight, what a stupid decision that was. Have the biggest spend ever, and we're just quite happy to let people like, Sam Jewell just move on to Chelsea for whatever reason, not even try to tempt them to stay, not realising that they were the bedrock of our success. The bedrock of our success was that we recruited well and brought in these extra players, and then we just bin that off, and now look at us.
Well, just quickly, I want to talk about the board just quickly, Jack, actually, because I know you touched on it slightly earlier, but the whole Lewis Dunk debacle, and if anyone who hasn't seen it, about was it a couple of hours ago now, Mike Keegan from the Daily Mail, again, if you want to trust the Daily Mail, that's it's up to you. But yeah, Mike Keegan, he's quite a big reporter.
Yeah,
he's quite big in the football world.
I did an interview with him once.
Oh, did you?
After I got stabbed. He was all right.
Unreal. What
Yeah.
a guy.
Don't have his number anymore, though.
Yeah, gonna text him, get the
Yeah.
scoop. But yeah,
Yeah.
he tweeted exclusive. Brighton accepted Lewis Dunk bid from Nottingham Forest in the transfer window. Club legend had no intention of leaving and turned it down. Revelation may raise eyebrows among fans given the current situation, which, yeah, I mean, it definitely has done that. The article is behind a paywall, so I don't have any further details because I won't be clicking on that. So, yeah, look, we've look, basically, we know that this is pretty much true. I think it's fair to say from various sources, and it's a bit worrying, to be honest. The fact that it seems that they've accepted the bid.
I will say, we don't know 100% is true. It's a bit of tattletale, isn't it? All around.
Well, from our sources.
Yeah,
various sources. Anyway, for me, it's worrying the fact that they have seemed to have accepted a bid and he had no intention of wanting to go. So I don't know what that says about, first of all, what they think of Dunkey, in the sense of, basically, we don't really think you should be at the club anymore, so we're going to get rid of you. And the fact that he wanted to stay and it doesn't seem to have much communication, because surely he would have communicated that he wants to stay and they would have been like, we're all right, Forest. Don't worry about it. So it all seems very odd, all a bit strange. Very worrying because of what's happened on the pitch and off the pitch, as we've seen a few times now this season. So yeah, Jack, what do you think about the whole situation?
Yeah, I'm still holding fire whether I know it's true, because I'm still a bit all over the place. But it's not. I actually think it's a little bit of a storm in a teacup, in that they've accepted a bid. They've asked Dunk afterwards whether he wanted to go or not.
But isn't that problematic though, Jack? The fact that they've asked him after, surely.
But no, that's how transfers work.
And then asked him. But speak to him. Go, right. Well, we've had an offer.
Yeah.
Do you want to go? He'll be like, well, no. Like, okay, well, cool. We'll reject it then.
But then we don't know how that's worked. You know, it does, and I think,
true.
Like, you know, I would say that's fairly. But then, surely you would know that Lewis Dunk doesn't want to leave. He don't want to go. Like, he must have made that clear enough times for him to actually get, like, what it says in the article, that he'd be getting a pay rise and a 4-year deal. What, you know, he must be looking at that going, like, that's a good thing for him. If he don't want to go on that, they must have had discussions about the future and stuff like that. He's not the sort of player where you just sort of go like, yeah, we'll let him move on, especially to a rival. Like a rival in the league. And we're willing to let our club captain go there. Someone at the club, obviously, if it is true, someone doesn't rate Dunk. It's weird. I don't know. It's a bit of a weird transfer. I think everybody sort of found it. But why would you let him go, especially with another centre-half? It might explain why we were pursuing centre-half so hard in transfer window. It seemed to be the only solid rumour that was coming up, which, you know, like, was it Charlie Cresswell?
Yeah. From Toulouse, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, also, just for like a fan's perspective, you want the club captain, you want that bloke who's going to be here till the end of time.
Build the statue, Jack, or maybe not.
Maybe
not anymore.
But I wouldn't feel valued by the club. Somebody's given their all for the club, and actually,
exactly. I think that's the point I was trying to make earlier. Yeah. I think it's the fact that how does Dunkey feel in this situation? Feeling like you don't want me. Like I just think it's a bit of a kick in the teeth. It's a bit of a kick in the teeth to a club legend.
And also like he's turned down bigger moves.
Like, was it Chelsea in the past?
Chelsea, Fulham. I mean, don't know whether that was. But he did.
Yeah.
But Fulham,
Chelsea,
Fulham when he turned them down were in a much better position than us. Right. But he turned down, Chelsea, a team he supports, to sign a new deal at Brighton. Quite an odd move, but I don't know what's going on recruitment-wise or transfer-wise. It does seem to be a bit of a mystery. I think we need a big reset in the summer. And I think there needs to be figures like Pascal Gross, Lewis Dunk, who is still at the club and are behind that, who are part of that and part of the future, because ultimately, like, I think a big problem has been, and it has manifested itself, that the players do feel a disconnect. Sorry, the fans feel a disconnect from the manager, and a perfect people to continue that is people like Gross, people like Dunk, even to a certain extent, like Welbeck and Webster. They've been here a long time. They know sort of their way around the club and how people feel. And players like, Van Heck, they seem to have a great relationship with the fans, whereas the manager didn't seem to have it at all. And you've got to keep these people around because, on moments like, yesterday, that's what's going to save you as a manager. That's what's going to save you, your relationship with the fans. Glasner made a really good point that, the team were behind, the fans have always been behind us. No one booed when we were bad. And yeah, it was a bit of a dig at us as fans, but I think it's a bit of a dig at Fabian Hurzeler as a manager. And I don't think that's what his intention was, but that, he hasn't got the rapport. We never turned on De Zerbi as fans. There was maybe some discontent after a couple of away games. Like the Bournemouth game was definitely one that I remember being painfully shit. But people still believed in him, and I believed in him up until, the day that he was announced as leaving, because he built up a rapport with the fans. And this guy just hasn't. So it's giving him borrowed time. And I think, as much as I don't think De Zerbi's the right answer, and I don't want to compare him, if you don't build up the rapport, you're not going to be hanging around for long.
No, exactly. That's the point I made earlier, wasn't it? He just hasn't made a connection at all with the fans. And I think there's simple ways to do that, right?
You could just clap the fans at the end of the game.
Yeah.
I've been banging the drum of it, but if I've travelled for 200 miles across the country, the least you can do is just come over and clap. And like Wednesday night, I bought train tickets, hotel, match ticket, probably too much beer, which is my choice at the end of the day. It is my choice.
It is, yeah.
It is my stupid fucking choice. But all it is a clap. All you want is a clap. And maybe it's a very small clap, but it's an appreciation.
Yeah, it's a gesture, isn't it? And
I
think he's had ample time to make a connection with the fans, and he just doesn't seem to want to make that effort. And it's all a bit bizarre. And he doesn't, like I said, it'll give you so much more grace. It'll give you so much more backing. It'll give you just like the benefits are there.
Yeah.
Like if you just show that connection to the fans,
because we probably gave De Zerbi way more time than he should have.
Well, exactly. That's the point I'm trying to make.
He was slagging off the board. He was slagging off, and Tony Bloom, club legend as well. Like he's just slagging him off and arguing with everyone. He gave us all it, and it was so much like grace that he got, and so much more time. Yeah, because we loved him.
Yeah, exactly. And sadly, Hurzeler just hasn't built that connection. And if he's not going to bother with us, why should we bother with him? That's how it feels, really.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and yet we still bother.
No, exactly.
We still bother.
Exactly. No, you've definitely, you are a great example of that. A fan that puts not only his time but money.
I'm no one special.
No. You're a part of a group that is special. You go to home and away games, like you said. You travel all up and down the country to follow the club, and you invest a lot of time, money, and as fans, we have got a right to express our views. And look, we're not always right. we're definitely
quite
not
often
always right.
wrong. I'm quite often
exactly. But we have got a right to an opinion, and I suppose this podcast is a great example of that. We sit here, chat shit, but it's just a nice therapy session. An hour and 7 minutes so far of us just having a nice therapy session.
A lot of people who and you should all be ashamed of yourself. You shouldn't be happy to want a podcast when we lose, because it's not good when we lose.
I did see a lot of people messaging us saying, "When's the podcast coming out?"
Yeah.
But look, I think that generally is it. I think people like to sort. It's like therapy. It's generally that's how I see this.
Shout out to my good unhinged friend BHAFC. He was he didn't even seem that angry yesterday. That's kind of summed it up, didn't it? The people weren't even that angry.
Got to a point. Yeah, maybe people got to a point now where like anger's just. Nobody is so angry, or as in you're so disconnected that you can't even be bothered to get angry now. Yeah. Maybe that's what it is. But all right, Jack, I feel like we've pretty much covered everything. Really.
Yeah, we have. An hour and 8 minutes of it. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. That was a long one, but a lot to digest, a lot to go through.
Yeah, Jack. Actually, by the way, I'm no longer a Brighton fan. I'm now exclusively a Whitehall fan because I had a great day there on Saturday. 3-2 win against hashtag United.
Yeah, Grant was telling me, was it 6 games unbeaten? No, 7 unbeaten now?
The boys. So, you know what? It's like I work with a bloke who's a Spurs fan. He's now a Hanworth Villa only fan. So, not only fans, but Hanworth Villa only.
Nice good one for clearing that up. So,
all
right.
Yeah. That's
it. All right. Well, we're no longer Brighton fans. That has been myself and Jack. That is the end of the podcast.
And I support Whitehawk only.
Yeah, I support Worthing. Yeah. So, if you guys
as well, what was I was going to say? Because Dulwich as well is right near Crystal Palace, so I can still hate a cream in Croydon.
There you go.
Yeah, just on a separate note.
Cream in Croydon.
Yeah, I don't know, but just on a separate note, just to finish this podcast off, me and Maz are now certified Dulwich Hamlet haters.
Correct. Yeah,
So-
fuck Dulwich Hamlet.
Yeah.
Fuck
Sort
the-
your pitch out.
Yeah,
Call it off earlier, you idiots.
fucking bastards. Yeah, we sat actually. Yeah, we were sat in a pub, weren't we, Jack? On was it Tuesday night?
Yeah.
Because we were meant to bloody go to Dulwich White Hawk. And
Yeah.
The bastards
Called it
even
off.
though it was raining all day.
Yeah,
which
so they could have
makes
called it off at
sense.
1 o'clock. Instead, they
Yeah.
chose to waste my time.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
And we got there and we were buzzing for it. We're like, yeah, we'll meet at London Bridge Station, make our way
Yeah.
down there. And then we all got a message. Well, you saw the tweet. I got a message from Grant saying the game's off, turn around. So,
Yeah. We even had Ben with us. We even
Yeah.
got Ben.
even Ben, and he was flying to South Africa the next day.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where Ben is, by the way, if anyone cares. He's
In South
currently
Africa.
he's currently in South Africa for a wedding. So,
Yeah.
that boy
Not-
lives, doesn't he?
And I don't think he's broken any laws there either, like in
Yeah,
Qatar.
well,
So-
let's find out. Let's
Yeah.
wait till we find out after. But guys, thank you so much for listening to our 1 hour and 10-minute rant. We hope that's helped. We hope things turn around. We hope things change for the better.
And we're going to beat Villa on Wednesday night. And it's all going to be fine.
Yeah.
I had a dream that we won 3-0.
Well, hopefully that dream comes true, Jack. Do you dream about other stuff? Like, is there anything else that's come true in your dreams?
I once dreamed we beat Crystal Palace 1-0 and Kerry Mayo scored, and that was about a year ago.
Okay, so the dreams are good then. They
Yeah.
work. Yeah,
Cool.
good.
Good
All right.
movies, anyway.
Yeah. All right, brilliant. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening. Please like, comment, and subscribe, all that good stuff. We really do appreciate it. And please leave a comment. Get involved. Get anything that we've said today.
What do you think of Hurzeler? Do you
Yeah.
think it's time for him to go? Do you think he should stay? Do you think he should get more time?
Yeah. Well, the
Leave it in
podcast
the
title,
comments.
the podcast title to this, I've already thought about it, is going to be "The Writing's on the Wall." So,
Yeah.
do you think that is true? Do you think the writing is on the wall? Do you think there's a way back for Hurzeler? Please do let us know. Get involved.
Do you think we are bedwetters? Do you think we're knobheads? If
I'm
you're
a legend.
Yeah, if you're a
So-
Crystal Palace fan, just send us abuse. You can call me an egg, call me bald. I don't care, really. It doesn't matter. You're probably still nicer than Aston Villa fans. So, that's fine.
and
And
you
also,
can call me anything you want, just nothing racist.
yeah, here we go. And then another musical hot take. Writing on the Wall, don't like Pink Floyd at all. I think they're boring. Goodbye.
Yep. And on that note, peace out.